That Davis show, our first time, me and Ryan Bukowiecki going live here on StreamYard as we try to perfect this platform enough to come to our viewership and to give you something that's quality, to say the least. Not a lot of jovialness in this one coming to you. It's definitely about Tony Russa. My name is Kenneth Davis. Follow me at That's Davis. I'm the host of That Davis Show. You know my executive producer. His name is Ryan Bukowiecki. Follow him at Ryan B. Ski and Ryan B. Ski 1 on Instagram. So listen.
Wait, should we be wearing all black for the viewer procession that's about to happen?
No. We're going to try to look at this in a balanced manner, but also full of emotions. All right. So if you don't know, and I'm sure you all know by now, the Chicago White Sox have went into the Wayback Machine and rehired former manager Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa hasn't coached since 2011. It's been 9 years. He ran the Arizona Diamondbacks. He also was a part of the Boston's front office, an advisor.
And the Angels.
I was going to get to that, Ryan. And then the last team was the advisor for the Angels this past season, at least. It was definitely a question asking him about how Joe Madden handles social justice, and we'll get to that. So I want to talk about how I feel initially. This was not a good moment, especially when it just comes to now outside of baseball to a certain degree, because I do think there's some people that are closer to baseball recently that may be better. Let's take nothing away from the greatness of Tony La Russa as a manager. All right, Tony La Russa has the third most wins as far as not active, but formerly active managers. If you had your pick, he would probably be someone that you would choose. But I just have the feeling of the check in the room and the tenor in the room and going back to, some of the things. And it was funny. I was sitting there watching this initially on MLB. .com, not .com, the MLB Network, and they had MLB Now on. And after the initial questions, and they went back to the host, they reacted with, "What's going on? Why are they asking them these questions first?" And those questions were basically about, his age and getting a job and social justice, and also about necessarily how he would react with the Sox players' bat flips and enthusiasm, and it quote unquote, would he feel that it's disrespecting the game? And looking at the MLB Now, I was like, man, you guys really don't know. And one of the guys was like, yeah, I'm looking at social media in Chicago, and people are happy. And it's twofold right there. Because one, of course, we're in Chicago, you don't know, and you hear Tony La Russa, and they're like, people should be ecstatic. But also, it still goes to kind of with Tony La Russa and the incident in 2016, as far as what happened with him talking about Cap kneeling and about, don't disrespect the flag and don't disrespect. And, I hope by now, most people have progress from then, but there's a lot of privilege in the fact that you weren't progressive enough back then. Like I think that's the thing that we really get on of people of color in this situation, because you look at my face, I have to be understanding to a lot of people in this place. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're in the back of the room, you have to look and see how everyone else is moving, because it's rarely that you get a chance to be the person in front of the room. So you have to learn to acclimate to different situations where the person in the front of the room is leading by charge, and he's not really worried about acclimation. You just better get in where you fit in. And that's kind of how that felt listening to those gentlemen talk about that. I think it's a good hire from the point of baseball to a certain degree, even though he's been out of baseball forever. All right. So I don't want to make it seem like this is one of those things where it's just like, this is the worst. It's the worst because how I feel that what's going on right now in the world, my owner, or the owner of the team that I root for, he's not my owner, he's the owner of the team that I root for, didn't care. And that's the thing that really just jumps out to us. His friendship with his partner meant more than worrying about the fact that you have this team I'll throw Tim Anderson in with this. You have and I know he's not Afro-Latina, but you have this Afro-Latina team basically when it comes to everyday players, right? And it's funny even with that, because I think about, especially with when you look at Yohan Moncada, not as much with Jose Abreu, because I feel like Jose Abreu has acclimated himself enough to where he's not necessarily fearful to step out on issues. But I look at someone like Yohan Moncada and think about the fact that there may be some apprehension about showing how he feels about social injustice, because he feels like he's a guest here in this country. And that's another thing. I try to think about how other people are going through stuff, so a part of you, and I don't know how Yohan Moncada feels. Let's say that. But I know you may feel like, I come to the land of milk and honey. I'm rich. I don't want to disrespect anything here. And I understand that. But when you look at the team and you look at the city and you look at what's going on, and you didn't even slow down with it. Like just to think, Ryan, there were times that we felt here, that Davis show, Kenneth Davis, Ryan Bukowiecki, there were times that we felt here that maybe, hopefully, I should say, hopefully the Tony Russa thing is a smokescreen, because perhaps with AJ Hinch or Alex Cora, they don't want to go straight to someone who's quote unquote a cheater, even though Tony Russa has been involved with some of the best steroid users ever in the MLB. All right. And I'm not just trying to take a shot. I mean, we know basically steroid use really, and this comes from working out and bodybuilding, started on the West Coast. All right. And we know what happened with the Bash brothers and then taking that with Mark McGuire to St. Louis. And I'm not using that as a reason to keep Tony Russa out of his job. I'm partially using it as a reason why some people was bashing AJ Hinch. I don't put what AJ Hinch did on the same level as steroids. I'll probably say AJ Hinch is probably here. Steroids is probably there, especially since he was the manager. And as a manager, it's hard to necessarily stop your players from using steroids. What are you going to do? Snatch the needle out their butt? I'm being facetious, but I'm just trying to look at it from both sides. Because hopefully, if you follow this show from when it was the Dean Davis show to that Davis show, that's one of the things that we always try to do. And I try to just look through one lens. But in that, I want you to look through my lens or people of color's lens in this situation. I was listening. Lucky enough, this news broke today during the Lawrence Holmes show, and Jason Goff called in, and I didn't know Lawrence had moved. I know Lawrence had talked about moving in one of our last discussions. I didn't know Lawrence had moved, and Lawrence was talking about being in the vicinity physically. He's closer in the vicinity to guaranteed rate, and Jason lives in that way. And I don't know where any of these gentlemen lives now. I knew where Lawrence lived before, and that's not important. But still, both of them expressed something poignantly about being closer to the team physically, but feeling a lot more distance from this hire. And I think that's the thing that we want people to pay attention to. Like, in talking to social media with a lot of people today, like some cats just didn't get how I was feeling. And I'm like, it's deeper than that. Because they're like, well, you're going to win the World Series? Probably. And again, you don't know if you're going to win a World Series. This has nothing to do with Tony La Russa managing. It's just the difficulty in baseball to get to and win a World Series. So let me start with that. It's not a given. With the talent that's on this team, it gives you a better chance. Bringing in the third winningest manager in MLB history, and we know how long the MLB has been around, it definitely increases that chance. Managerial-wise, it's not a bad decision. I still would have probably had AJ Hinch over him, just for me personally. I would have, because I feel like in some ways he's Tony La Russa with analytics. And I know we don't really know because we don't know how much of the cheating that he did. But that's just one of the things that stood out. I thought about what Jerry Reinsdorf is telling me. And Jerry Reinsdorf, I thought about the song, and I think I've told you this in the past, Ryan, when you had the Trayvon Martin case, right? And I know people feel like, damn, Ken, this is heavy as hell. How are you going to Trayvon Martin? Just follow me, all right? Because they're not the same thing. This is an apples comparison. Trayvon Martin was an atrocity. But I felt like after George Zimmerman was let go, I remember walking to work downtown, and I was playing "Worst" by Drake. And I was listening to this song last week, and maybe my favorite Drake song, at least, is in my top 3. But I love the line, "Motherfuckers never loved us" in that song, right? Because that's how I feel Jerry Reinsdorf said to me today, right? Like, yeah, you've been down here, whatever, but motherfucker, I don't love you, right? This is basically my ball, and I'll play with it the way that I fucking feel with it. And regardless of your emotions, because before today, Tony Russa never addressed the fact of social justice. And then also the discussion of sincerity. And I love the fact that, and let me make sure that I definitely, Tim Brown asked Tony Russa, who is he and what privileges does he have to necessarily decide when someone is being sincere or not? And Tony Russa addressed that by saying, I take sincerity by your regular actions. So listen, and what you do the follow-up. And I'm not negating that. I would want people to follow up with their when they're sitting there protesting or talking about social injustice. See, part of the problem with that is this. If I'm LeBron James and I didn't do the voting movement, which he did and you should do, and I'm not saying anybody shouldn't do something to back up what they're saying, but if because of my platform, I'm just highlighting what's going on, how can you diss me for doing that and say, well, you know what? He showed us what's going on, but you know what? It really doesn't matter because what did he do behind it? Because that person with that platform may sit there and shine a light on something that a lot of other people didn't pay attention to. So how do you dictate someone's sincerity? So that to me, and also, when did you come to realize you were wrong? Like there was no Drew Brees moment here. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like, you know what? This is why I feel like I was wrong in this. First of all of us love first responders. Like, let's stop acting. All of us have family members who have been in the military. So let's stop acting like we just hate them. The people that are opposed to being disenfranchised and being beat upon or killed. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, that means we just hate you. No, that doesn't necessarily mean that, but we can highlight you're clearly not doing your job successfully. But yeah, Jerry Reinsdorf to me told me basically, kid, I don't give a hell what you say. I'm gonna play with my ball any way I play. And listen, that's his right to do it. It's good that he did it because it puts things in a better perspective. Watching the presser, it did help somewhat. I'm not gonna lie. It didn't ease my concerns, but it brought me down from as much anger as I was experiencing because Sox have increased their chances to win. But I don't love this team as much as I love this team yesterday. And that hurts because Sox have sucked a lot. You know what I'm saying? And baseball, and I said this year, baseball as a fan pulls the most out of you because of the amount of time you have to spend with it. I love the top three sports. All right. And I have some love for hockey, but baseball, basketball, football are definitely my jams. All right. But out of those three, the amount of time you have to spend with baseball, it's something about it. It angers me more when something goes on because I've dedicated so much time to it. And to sit there and dedicate this time this season and how this season felt. Think about that, Sox fans. We were sitting there. I had on Herb Lawrence, executive producer for the Lawrence Holmes Show. And Herb was sitting there pointing out, and his point was valid, that Ricky is low-hanging fruit because that's what people usually go to when things go wrong. And I told him I'm not the Ricky basher, but basically Ricky had to go, and those bashings at that point were correct. But at that point, most people didn't even think. You can look at Paul Sullivan in the Tribune. Most people didn't think Ricky Renteria was going to be fired. When you see Rick Hahn taking these steps, right, that modern, effective teams actually do, and you get to the point. Theo Epstein, let's just use the Cubs. You get to the Theo point with Ricky Renteria, and you like, you know what? Yeah, he's cool and all, but you know what? I'm gonna rock with so and so because they're better. You know what I'm saying? He's cool, but he's better. When you get to that point and you make that decision business-wise because it's going to be better for the organization, and we always look at the Sox and loyalty because of Jerry, and it was basically people were going off of the track record of Jerry. That, you know, that's not what Jerry does. Jerry's going to stick with the person. Jerry doesn't want to pay to have a manager sitting out, so on and so forth. When you see the next day or the day after or two that Rick Hahn expresses the feeling that we have as Sox fans, like, no, we're ahead of schedule. This gentleman who did a lot for us, our organization, is getting his culture right. Give Rick Renteria his props for getting the culture right. This gentleman did all this to get our culture right, right? I'm going to let him go. And as he should have, I'm going to let him go. And now the world is open to us. Finally, we're running this like a first-rate organization. All our stars are basically signed up for the future, outside of maybe Lucas Giolito. As far as guys right now that's proven, all our guys are basically locked up. You know, you bring in Dallas Keuchel, you bring in Yasmani Grandal, like you're just looking like a team, you know what I'm saying, where it's like, man, we on the cusp. Now all we need is that guy that brings old school and new school together, right? And I understand some people's apprehension about AJ Hinch for cheating. But if you dislike AJ Hinch for cheating, and that's just something to do with baseball, then hopefully you can kind of feel my feelings on somebody that's talking about that someone that looks like me doesn't have the right to point out that people are harming us that we pay to protect us. All right. And I know people are like, well, why are you bringing it up? Because it's important to me. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it bothers me. It bothers me to the point where he didn't have to address this situation until today, where we knew at least after, and it's sad that after George Floyd, that now people had to come up and make their mea culpas, Jerry Jones, quote unquote, who still hasn't, but he still hadn't addressed it. But today you addressed it, but it also depends on someone's sincerity. Shouldn't be the judge of someone's sincerity. If I have a Bosnian friend and he's telling me something to go on with Bosnia, it's not my business to address his sincerity. It's my business to take in the information that he's telling me about analyze it, probably believe him for saying, if he's my friend, I'm gonna take it, and also see if there's anything as an ally that I can do to move it forward. This is just common things when you can, especially when you see terrible things happen to people with regularity. So that's the thing. I want to stick with Rick Hahn. This is disrespectful to Rick Hahn. And as Rick Hahn told you, and I believe it was a good one from James Fegan from The Athletic, he asked him, according to what you said, and I'm paraphrasing it, this wasn't the guy you're going to go for. He asked him about being too insular. Of course, Rick Hahn was like, he's been called too long for it to be insular. But just everything that you said, this doesn't necessarily want the guy. And Rick Hahn pointed out things change quickly. So basically, Jerry told them, y'all going to have to go and interview him. And this is going to basically be the guy. If he says he wants the job, he wants the job. He also pointed out that they didn't interview anybody else because Rick Hahn being a decent cat, he didn't want to sit there and interview someone who's not going to get the job, because once Jerry had made the call had already been made. So when Rick Hahn has proven to us, and that's like the real thing, Rick Hahn has proven to us that he's top 6 at least in the MLB. Like he's somewhere in that area now, I believe, right? That he's somewhere as far as running the organization and being a general manager. He's getting to elite level, but he's damn sure really good. And he's an asset. And you sit there and kneecap this asset by not letting him finish what he started. Like, why didn't you let Rick Hahn finish what he started? Like, dude, we trusted in this, and then you come and kneecap us and not let the guy who's leading this movement fulfill what he began to take us to another place. I see people saying that Rick Hahn should just leave. I don't think Rick Hahn's going to leave because he wants to see his baby make it all the way to the end, because this is still his baby, and also someone has to protect the baby. You know what I'm saying? When you got Tony in here with the bat line straight to the ownership, like we sit here, Ryan, we get on Jerry Jones all the time because whoever the Dallas Cowboys coach is, it doesn't matter when players can call Jerry directly. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like anybody that works in anything, there's a cutoff point with the higher up between you and the person between you and that person for a reason. Not to say you can't go to them, but if you can sit there and easily, like if I know the owner and I work for somebody, and Ryan, you're my supervisor, right? And you're talking about what
Damn
time
straight.
You're right. You're talking about what time I get to work, and I'm basically like, fuck what you're talking about, and I go talk to the owner, and he comes to you and be like, don't necessarily worry about it. You're gonna feel a certain kind of way because you're holding other people to that standard, but you can't hold me to that standard. So now, I'm also flip that later on and tell you positives in some ways when it comes to that, even though I'm not going to say that those positives outweigh the negatives, because I do think that that's definitely a negative. But Rick Hahn pointed out that this was LaRussa was pointing out that he was surprised by the call. Again, Jerry wanted to reunite the old team from the deathbed, and I hate to say that because that's just foul to say something about that. I don't want Jerry Reinsdorf to die. I'm not the type of human being. But still, when you want to do something, and I hate when people use the expression paying back for firing them. Listen, I got some nice ex-girlfriends, and if I hit the lotto, I'll definitely send them some dollars. But that doesn't mean I want to go back and reconsummate those old relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like,
does Rick Hahn need an assistant GM, Hawk Harrelson, or someone to come out for
Jerry
to hire?
Well, see, that's on Jerry for letting Hawk be the GM in the first place. Like that whole thing was ridiculous. Like, see, this is the thing. So Jerry, we're all paying for it because you didn't recognize Tony La Russa's talent back in the days. Like that, I shouldn't have to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? That's on you. If you want to sit there and play kissy face with this dude, do that. Just don't involve my team or your team, because it's not. You've proven again that it's not. The fans is not our team. This is your team, sir. Because you didn't listen to anything majority of us said. Even people that didn't have a real problem with Tony or the problems that I've said and some other people have said, but still he wasn't at the top of their list. You didn't listen to any of that whatsoever. You wanted to do something that felt good to you. And I mean, it is what it is. He talked about players' bat flips, and of course this goes to Tim Anderson. It was a question, I believe, by Vinny Dubar from NBC Chicago. And it's just crazy. I mean, I'm just saying that it's crazy to be in this situation because we've been happy. And I know Tony came in on our text chain yesterday, and we all knew it was a done dilly. But he was like, man, it's a done dilly. So today I'm looking at everything, and I see when it hits, and it's like he's the manager. Even though we knew he was the manager, he's the manager. And I felt like shit. You know what I'm saying? Because one, and I want to say my team didn't notice how I was going to feel, but they knew how I was going to feel about this. Look at this face. They knew how I was going to feel about this. They didn't care. And listen, I guess, quote unquote, I'll say this. It still will be wrong. If you prioritize winning over my feelings, somewhat cool to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel it's cool, but it's somewhat cool to a certain degree. Do I believe Tony Russa can win a World Series title as the manager of the White Sox? Yes, he's Tony Russa. Even if he's been out of baseball this long, yes. Would he have been my candidate? No. Are there underlying issues that also make me angry? Yes. I brought up what he said about Colin Kaepernick. The fact that he wasn't necessarily close to analytics. Still, the question was asked. Let me make sure if I can see who. I don't know if I can see who asked him. The question was asked: would he necessarily? No, you know what? Deion Miller, friend of the show. I believe it was Deion. No, it wasn't Deion. It may have been Fegan. I can't remember. Let me stop. I can't remember. The question was asked: if you were in the same situation as Kevin Cash, would you do it? And that's one of these. Because if you look at it, and I mean, we all know in the World Series that Kevin Cash shouldn't have pulled Snell out, right? Especially when you look at the numbers that dramatically, when Snell went around the third time, that I believe like by fourfold his ERA increased, if not even more by that, right? And basically Tony Russa was like, you got to pay attention to what's going on in the game, which anybody in this situation will basically say that. But still, it goes back to the Rick Hahn situation. The front office is telling you, hey, I need you should probably use this guy, this reliever, and you're basically like, screw that. And there's no one to hold you to it, because all you got to do is call Jerry and shoot the shit. Man, Jerry, you know how you would say, like, and I know you think I'm joking, but I'm being serious. And this is something that Ryan and I have talked about for weeks when Tony Russa first came up, was the fact that you're messing up with Rick Hahn. Why would you, with everything that Rick Hahn has done, why would you sit there and just play him the way that you've played him? And I mean, so those are the things, the social justice thing and the Rick Hahn thing, then probably followed by the players on the team and their free spirit, but also being a team that's African to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying, you got Tim Anderson, this is one cat, but you got a lot of Afro-Latinos on this team, and bringing in this older gentleman. And that's not to say that older people can't acclimate and learn and change, but where was this learning and changing before this lovely job came out? Because and I want to get on that. Tony Russa said that Jerry Reinsdorf could have hired him in the past, correct? He said this during the presser. When was this? Between
2012?
Yeah, between Oakland, right, and going to St. Louis?
Right. When were you going to hire him?
When were you going? And were you going to leave St. Louis, that organization, for the Sox? And I know a Sox.
Didn't he win a World Series right before he ended too?
Yeah, he ended it and took it to win a World Series. He won 2 there, right? So, like, how are you saying? But then this goes to Jerry, and I want Sox fans to really think about this, right? Jerry Reinsdorf sat here and played us for years. Never let this organization set up right. Had these one-dimensional players, a guy that can slug softball-wise, a guy he can run fast, but this guy can't hit for anything. This guy has a nice glove. But when we finally get 4, it's not all, but 4-dimensional players, maybe 5'2" guy here or there, you go out and get your old friend and give him this job, when you could have given him shitty teams all in the past. So you shitted on us and let us have all these bad teams for as long as you let us have all these bad teams, when you could have done something. And finally now in the moonlight of your life, and you say, and you have the greatest talented White Sox team outside of the team that the strike was called. And this is maybe even more talented than that. Outside the team in the 94, when Jerry was in charge basically and had the strike. You had this wonderful team. And then you like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hook my motherfucking friend up with it. We're going to go out together with this one. It's disrespectful to all of us. Dog, we sat here for 5 years with 100 lost seasons, right? All you had to do was stick to the script so we all can be happy. But because of you and what you want, you couldn't sit there and just put in someone that for the most part, we will all be commiserate with that person getting this damn job. And again, I think the White Sox definitely have a chance to win a World Series with Tony Russa as the manager. I just don't want to feel like this. It feels like the Bears right now, where outside of the last game, the Bears win, but there's no relaxation in these games. Like, there's no joy in it while you're watching it and taking place. there was joy, even with what happened with the White Sox the month of September and then losing to the A's. I think most White Sox fans, the day after losing to the A's, were happy again because we knew what we had. Then it was compounded because of what the White Sox lost to the A's on a Thursday or Friday, I believe. And then that Monday, Ricky's fired. And it was like, whoa, yes, right? Like, I was already happy because of how the year is moving, but I'm thinking we're going to do the lazy thing and keep a guy just for the sake of keeping him. But Rick Hahn is going to step up and realize, no, we have to grab a hold of the golden apple while we have the chance. And it just juiced you. It just made you feel good. And now to get the new hire, and it feels like a fucking kick in the gut. Like, part of me doesn't even want to watch it, right? I know I am. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm still going to root for this team, but it's the worst. It's one of the worst feelings for a team that you think helped themselves today. Did they help themselves today? Yes, they helped themselves because you have one of the greatest managers that's ever been a manager in MLB. That's the truth of the matter. I can't take anything away from that. Just because I don't like aspects of his character, I have to still admit and own up to the work that he's done, the hard work that he's put in. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna deny that. Can this gentleman get the Sox over the threshold? Probably, perhaps, even though we still have to see what's time away from the game and how the changes of the game, how he acclimates himself to that. It's not just a given. And also, we don't even know how this team is going to take to him and how he's going to take to this team. I still believe in Rick Hahn. You know what I'm saying? That's like Rick Hahn is the parent that stays in the house when we all getting our ass beat and should leave. But it's like, if I leave, these kids gonna die. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, because if I was him, I'd be tempted to go because there's job offers that are going to be coming at him. I'd be tempted to go because when is this really mine? And I've proven myself. And for the next few years at least, he's in some ways answering to Tony La Russa. Just be cognizant of that. He's answering to Tony La Russa in some way or another. And Rick Hahn has done too well of a job for me to feel like he has to do that. Now, if this was Tony La Russa, if this was 2013, 2015, let me even say that. This is 2015, and Tony La Russa was like, I'm coming to help y'all. I'd be like, man, Rick Hahn, you just got to listen to what this man is telling you to do. But I feel like Rick Hahn has proven that he's someone that we can trust as Sox fans and that's someone that we can believe in, especially when he's let alone to his own faculties to go about his business. But that's really, I think, the heart of what I want to get to. I definitely want to do it today. I don't have the same angst that I had earlier on. I'd be lying if I said that some of it didn't calm down during the presser. Some of the questions some of the questions he didn't ask the way that I want to ask. Because listen, I'll tell you this. I don't know shit about Tony La Russa's sincerity since he's the judgment man on sincerity. Because if you were sincere, you should have made these mea culpas before getting a job. All right? That's sincerity. That sincerity is when the light isn't even on you. And even though if you point out you were wrong, people be like, why did you bring it up? Nobody was even talking about you. That's sincerity, Tony La Russa. So be sincere yourself and step out there and before you get this job to say, you know what, I was wrong. And it wouldn't even been as hard because the temperature in the room had changed. Plenty of people now can come out and say they were wrong, but you didn't even do that until you got this job today. So that bothers me. And I have no problem with telling you that it bothers me. If you don't feel like it's important, all right, this is you not feeling that's important. What does that say about you? But that brought a lot of angst to this hire. And I wanted to express that because people are like, what's wrong going on? And I'm not dissing y'all for asking, but sometimes, I like to play. I didn't even want to play today about this. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to go back and forth with people on some clever shit because it wasn't about clever shit. Just because, like, listen, I don't even want to change my social media avatar because as soon as I change it, I'm gonna have to put that motherfucker back to black. That's it. That's really the gist of.
Did you get it out?
Nah, but we'll get some more out later on. We'll get some guests to come on and talk about this. But Ryan, I have to find out what were your thoughts of the hire and how did you feel? Listen, it's so early, Doc, but dude, it's 4:54. I don't drink whiskey this early.
Oh, a special occasion, right?
It's for the pain.
Yeah, that's usually what it's good for. I don't know. Like you said, I don't think this hurts any World Series chances. I mean, first of all, if you're a fan that really cares about the manager, you have to decide how much managers even mean. Because I was listening to the Lawrence Holmes show, and Herbie, I thought, made a great point. If you're not a manager person, Sox probably are going to do what they're going to do in 2021 with or without him for the most part. Now, that doesn't mean that the manager is completely useless. They really matter when it comes to bullpens, substitutions, in-game kind of things. And Tony Russa is as good as anybody doing that stuff. So I don't think you necessarily worry there. I think the things, like you pointed out, how is he going to handle the clubhouse? Because Ricky built a great clubhouse there, and are stupid things like bat flips going to become a problem and kind of change the energy and makeup of the team? And you definitely don't want that. And just, it's been 9 years. That is a long time. Does he kind of, I don't know, have some values or baseball kind of thoughts as a manager that he's not going to change on, and the game has changed in that perspective? But I can't imagine it's something so dramatic where all of a sudden it's like Mike McCarthy with the Cowboys, like you referenced, where it's a train wreck. Like they're not even going to come close to the playoffs because it doesn't even look right regardless.
Yeah, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, even with all the injuries, like it just doesn't look right. Period. Like, yes, you can't win with that many guys down, but I think it's just strange. The one thing is just not talking to anybody else. But like you pointed out, if Jerry's just like, this is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy.
Why waste other people's time?
Well, who are you going to talk to? What's there going to be? And then you just wonder what kind of rift there is with Kenny and Rick. I can't imagine either of those guys are necessarily pounding the desk for Tony La Russa. If anything, they're pounding it the other way, saying, why do we have to have Tony La Russa? And you just wonder, do we look back on this in a few years and say, man, hiring Tony La Russa really caused a rift that we didn't need as the White Sox organization or as a White Sox fan? But that's probably not going to happen. That's just to be fair, I guess, on all things, the positive and the negative. But overall, I'm kind of like you. The more I thought about Tony La Russa ever since it was rumored, I don't necessarily think it's a bad hire baseball-wise, but I don't like the hire for them. Especially like we talked about. You got A.J. Hinch there. The guy just seems like a superstar manager. But maybe Jerry, Mr. Old Baseball, Mr. Romantic about baseball, maybe it just drove him insane, the idea of having A.J. Hinch, the cheater, be on his team or something like that.
You know what? Shout out to the Bigs. Terrence Tomlin posted, you know what? Jerry brought this in because he probably doesn't like the guy celebrating and stuff like that and wants somebody to tamper it down. Let's not forget Jerry's the guy that until Dallas Keuchel got there, you couldn't have a beard, right? Like, and you saw how many bros had beards out there. So think about these guys. If Jose Abreu, you think Jose Abreu's been wanting to rock a beard but couldn't, and he's been here while they've been suffering. Dallas Keuchel pop up and was like, dude, I got a beard. And Jerry's like, do your thing then. Like, just think about, like, if you're an already employee, look at kind of, and it's not apples to apples. Look at the Clippers, right? Because the guys that are on the Clippers didn't deserve to be treated like Kawhi. And, well, Kawhi, I won't say Paul George. Well, Kawhi, but you saw how they felt a certain kind of way about the treatment that he received. You know what I'm saying? And it's similar to that is kind of what I'm saying, to where, you're going to kind of feel a certain kind of way about the type of treatment this guy's getting. There are some pros. I'll say this pro. Jerry's going to want to prove that he's right. All right. So I think there's more incentive for him, especially with the pandemic, perhaps closing it in the purse strings, to spend a tad bit more. Tony's going to tell him what he needs something. Like, Tony Russo's he's not doing this shit to fucking come here and just sit in the twilight years. He's not trying to pull a Lou Piniella, right? And I mean, it's that time the Cubs were actually trying to spend. Jim Hendry was actually trying to spend some money, even though he wasn't spending it properly because you look at the Alfonso deal, it wasn't necessarily a good deal. He wasn't going to be stealing bases like that anymore. Soriano. But still, you're in a situation where Jerry's probably going to give more. He's going to spend more for Tony Russa than he would for A.J. Hinch. He's going to spend more for Tony Russa than he would for probably even Rick Hahn or Kenny Williams. You know what I'm saying? Because that's his buddy, and he wants to prove that this decision was right. So that'll be something good. But I'll say this, as a Sox fan, whatever positive happens, it won't be as joyous if this decision wasn't made. And that's the thing. I think that's what we're really trying to say. Like, you took some of the genuine affinity that we had for what was taking place out of it. And you instead injected, in a way, politics into it that we didn't need. I'd rather be talking about a dude cheating, right? And both of these guys are cheaters. I said that before. Him with super steroids from Oakland all the way to the birds on the back. All right, him with that, with cheating and bringing the cheater all the way back there from St. Louis. Talking about Mark McGwire. All right, he's a cheater too. Let's be clear. All right, Tony Russa's smart enough, and we all know, to see that guys grew to be Hulk-like size, right, in the offseason or two. Not to say they didn't put in work, because if you're not putting in work, you're really not using steroids right anyway. All right, if you're Jason Giambi in it, you're not going to get the type of effects, especially long-lasting, that you want. All right, but still, I'd rather be sitting here talking about AJ Hinch and what he did than reliving everything that's been happening the last 7 months. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I felt like Jerry Reinsdorf was like, you know what? Yeah, but we're going to get over it. And it's like, we have to do that. And it's like, so, and it also just goes to show, like, what do you really feel? You know what I'm saying? It's privilege from this. And I really hate keeping beating this drum. It's privilege because you don't have to deal with it every day. You know, like, you don't have these worries. So you can carry the day for the next 2 weeks. It's on the back burner. And don't think I wake up thinking about being black, like, oh man, I gotta go through it. I'd rather not think about it. All right, until it's shoved in my fucking face. Right? I'd rather be oblivious to it, right? And I'd rather be with my head in the clouds. But it's persistent. So it's a privilege when it's not persistent and you can make these moves like that. And that's basically the gist. I don't want to keep anybody any longer. As we try out this StreamYard. Shout out to the people that have checked in to our first live. We definitely appreciate it. Ryan, real quick, you check the comments. What do people say? We got anybody in the comments?
Let me double check.
You're supposed to be all over there. Damn. Yeah, we got Dedrin. The hire is trending on Twitter. It's trending number 3. It was number 4. He says the hiring is racist and unforgivable. Dedra and Tony Russa is like having the money to get a 2019 65-inch UHD TV purchasing a 1987 vintage Magnavox television. And then Chuck hit us with the hire. Feels like Jerry's trying to mend fences with Tony after all these years. I think Dusty Baker's still managing the Astros. A 71 man. It's not the same as Dusty Baker, because Dusty Baker didn't do anything like this. Dusty Baker was talking about what was coming down on him. So again, I get it. I definitely appreciate you all for chiming in on that. But yeah, we're gonna bring y'all more of these lives moving forward. So definitely chime in and let us know your thoughts. And also, you can sit there and still on YouTube and let us know what you think. Your comments. We're gonna be interactive with the comments moving forward. But everybody, man, be safe out there. And listen, I hope for us that's taking this negative, that at one point we can get past this. I hate to say that because it seems like we always have to get past something.
Well, at least you guys are a story, no matter what, next year.
Yeah, fuck you. All right. So thanks, Ryan Bieski. And definitely we'll be back either with an interview or Flipping Friends this weekend. So everybody out there, just stay safe.